Hi everyone, welcome to what is the third episode of the Teachers Run Club podcast. I'm really excited to have Ryan Forwood with me today. Ryan is a PE lead at a primary school and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about, well, many things, but hopefully more about running at lunchtime and fitting runs in around the school day. So hi Ryan, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for asking me.
Not a problem. Now, we've got an array of things that we're going to talk about over the next sort of 20 minutes or so. Some of that is going to be about running clubs. Some of that's going to be about parkrun, because I've noticed a lot on your social media recently, especially on Twitter, about how much you've been getting involved in your parkrun, but mainly wanted to hear about your lunchtime runs. And we'll get to that. But first, I wanted to give you an opportunity to give us and the listeners a quick intro to yourself. Your sort of teaching background would be great.
Yeah, so I'm a primary specialist and I've been teaching for 9 years. Got my 2 degrees at the University of Bedfordshire. I'm a PE coordinator at a free-form entry school in Lowestoft and looking forward to next year. I've accepted a new role for PE lead and physical activity lead across a couple of schools in a trust in Cambridge, which I'm really excited to be starting.
That's brilliant. That sounds like you have a fantastic opportunity there to sort of spread your wealth of knowledge over multiple schools. And University of Bedfordshire, you're not far from me. I'm teaching in Luton, so you would have been right on my doorstep there.
Oh yeah, good old Luton.
Yeah, been there for a long time, and it's a fantastic place to teach because there's so much opportunity to work with so many pupils.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a real range of backgrounds as well, and you can have a massive impact on a lot of people. And then what about your running? So we are the Teachers Run Club podcast. As much as we want to hear about teaching, we want to hear about your running journey as well. So when did that start?
So I've been running for a couple of years now, but I can only really consider myself a runner since probably January. So we'll talk in a little while, I'm guessing, about joining a running club. But I joined a running club in January, and that's the first time that I really started to get a bit of coaching and take my training a bit more seriously. So I class myself as only been running for about 5 months, but I've been dabbling in like the physical activity side of running for about 3 years.
Okay, and outside of running, is there any other sports that you sort of have a go at, or maybe you did when you were at school that you have a go at every now and then?
Yeah, I dabbled in rugby. I played rugby for 10 years, was second team captain for a while, played first team rugby for a couple of seasons. Then I broke a couple of ribs. So I took a couple of bit of time off and then tried going back into touch rugby, which is quite an intense, fast invasion game. Did touch rugby for a while and went to the gym to do a bit of strength work. But it's mainly been running that I've like really thrown everything into like recently.
Oh, brilliant. Talking of rugby, like touch rugby is, I did a course on it a few years ago. I could not believe how tiring it was. It's absolutely sweating buckets just running up and down the pitch. Um,
Oh,
I, if you don't mind me asking you, this is not completely relevant to what we started talking about, but something I found through teaching, and I work in a primary school. My son goes to school in like a middle school, lower school, upper school setting, and I see a huge dropout of children from sport and activity when you switch from that non-contact to the contact element. And I've seen it in cricket and rugby, cricket with using the hard ball and rugby with the obvious with the contact. And I've wondered if that's something you've noticed either through your teaching, and if you can't answer this, it's fine, because we didn't we didn't pre-talk about this. But as you brought up rugby, just that dropout of children taking part in sport because the opportunity changes and it's not overly inclusive.
yeah, so obviously being primary, I didn't tend to do a lot of contact. I did a contact rugby club a couple of years ago, but all our sport was done through like tag rugby and things like that. But I think it's very well known that as things go from one platform to another, so like contacts to non-contact, vice versa, I think people get turned off because they want a specific niche. So maybe they like the non-contact element, and then contact puts them off. But it's the other way around as well. Like when we were as adults, when we were playing touch rugby, we had some union players come and they only stayed for 1 or 2 sessions because they weren't enjoying the non-contact element. So I can only imagine when children go through that stage, I can imagine that is something which puts them off as well. That's why it's so important to offer a wide range of inclusive, competitive, non-competitive, non-contact sports. Try to offer something where someone can find their niche.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more, and that's something that I'm sort of really passionate about in my role at my school, is making sure that there is a sport for everyone, and even if that's an adapted sport, we don't have to follow the rules to the letter if it means that more children can access it. So that kind of leads on to the AFP Leadership and Influence Award that you received last year. Because when I read that, it really stood out for me. And I know that you've been sharing a lot of what you've been doing in your school on Twitter and social media, and you said that's how it kind of came about. So if you want to talk a bit more about that experience, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I presented at the AFP National Conference in December, and when I got home, I got a flood of messages saying that I got awarded the AFP Leadership and Influence Award for that year, and I was very, very honoured by that. One of my local colleagues and friends, Stuart Mackenzie, put me forward, and it was seconded by another friend of mine, Nikki, and I think it's mainly because of I really like to share. I think as teachers, we don't get enough support. Like supporting, like helping each other out, and I think Twitter has been a fantastic platform where educators can share. And I'm a models-based practitioner, so I like to teach physical education through sport education, cooperative learning, and I just basically share my resources, and I'm very free and open about talking, reflecting, discussion, and sometimes a little bit of debate. About all things primary PE, and I think some people are interested in some things I've got to say, which I'm very happy about, and I kind of came from there. So I'm very, very humbled and very, very honoured that I was recognised by AFPE, because I always think people like me shouldn't get these awards. I think they go to other people, and the fact that I was even nominated is amazing, and that I was actually awarded that is significantly incredible, and it's something I'll treasure for the rest of my career.
No, it's a brilliant achievement, and I like what you said about how Twitter is a fantastic sort of place for educators, because I use it. It's CPD, isn't it? It's free CPD that is always available, and you'll always be able to see multiple sides to what people are teaching, and people are so happy to share what they're doing, and which I think is amazing. And quite often you'll think, oh, we're looking for a new game for this PE activity, and you'll suddenly be flooded with a wealth of it, whether you're asking for it or whether you go out searching for it. And I think during lockdown that was really prevalent as well, with all of the being active at home, the garden games, what you can do in your living room, different ways to get your whole family active. It was a really, really brilliant resource, and I think it will continue on from that.
It's an incredible resource. Everything I do, I always do my resources to. I hold myself to a high standard, and I think if I'm going to make these resources for myself anyway, I'm making them for myself. So if somebody wants to use them, they're there on my computer. And it takes me like 10, 20 seconds to send it to someone. So if that can save someone some time, again, I think we're going to talk about time being an issue later. But if I can save someone some planning time or some resource making time, because I already have the resources, I don't see how I could say no to doing that.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and it's very good of you to do that, because I don't think everyone would, and I don't think in every sort of workspace or every job you wouldn't find that amount of sharing that we do in education. So no, you're 100% right there. Let's jump over to the running club then. So when we spoke before we started recording, something that I mentioned was that I know a lot of things I've seen through the Teachers Run Club is that people are maybe anxious or nervous about joining a run club. And I can see why. As adults, it's harder for us to move into areas that we're not comfortable in, and we expect children to do it. We expect our pupils to do it, and I think it's brilliant when adults do put themselves out of their comfort zone. And I think a running club is a brilliant community. It's a great way to push your own abilities, and push further than you probably realize you could do. So how did that kind of come about for you? What was the deciding factor to join a run club?
So it was mainly like I wanted to have a routine, and I wanted to have a weekly routine. I'm going to a park run on a Saturday morning. That started off being the one thing which I wanted to work around my weekend to start off doing something physically active. And I picked up a calf injury, like a grade 2 calf injury. So I couldn't actually run for quite a few weeks, but I still wanted to be involved in that environment. So I started volunteering. And then there's some fantastic people at my local park run. They just started talking to me whilst I was sitting on my chair barcode scanning. And you they're talking, and that's, well, these are really, really nice people. And then you start noticing these really nice people are wearing Ely runners kit, and you just start talking to them and they say, oh, we go to the run club. And I just thought, I need this positivity in my life. And I thought, if I'm going to take my running a bit more seriously and actually take that jump, I'm going to need that support. But I live in Soham and I live in Ely, and I work in Lowestoft, so all my friends were quite far away. And ever since I've lived in this area, I haven't had a chance to really meet people around this area. So I thought, well, these people are clearly very friendly, very supportive. I want more of that in my life, and I think this would be a fantastic opportunity, not only for my physical fitness, but also my social and mental health as well. So I gave it a go. I spoke to one of the run directors, Andrew, and he put me forward to a guy called Justin, who's now a very good friend of mine, and set me up for a free trial session. Went for a couple of free trial sessions and haven't looked back.
It's a great story, and I like what you say about how you've been able to make friends through that, because it's always a bit of a running joke, isn't it, that if you're a runner, you're always talking about running. You're always trying to convince your friends, oh, let's go for a run. And if someone's completely not that way inclined and they're just not fast, they don't really want to hear it. So if you're able to build a friendship group around a passion that you both have, or that you're with a group of people that you all have, I think that just it's a match made in heaven, really, isn't it? Did you have any sort of apprehensions before you went? Any nerves, or do you think that was it just really straightforward?
Nerves as in meeting people.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, well, I think I got a little bit of social anxiety. It takes me a little while to kind of put myself out there. But I think it was because I'd made that jump, I'd made that start with the park run, and a lot
Yeah.
of the people that go to my local park run go to the running club anyway. So even when I went to the run club, I knew people before I started. Um, so again, it kind of is a bit of a backward way of thinking about it, because I didn't know anyone when I started going to park run. But when I made that step and I said I'm going to start doing a bit more, that's when you start meeting new people, and the people that I spoke to are already part of this club. And there's quite a few people now who I really consider like close friends from that running club. And I'm getting married in August, and they very, very quickly like got invites to the wedding,
Mhm.
because I could tell that they're going to be a significant part of my life. Um, and they're just so supportive. And I think like I was a little bit apprehensive about meeting people, but I knew those people anyway. I already knew they were awesome. So if anyone else was nearly as awesome as them, then they're going to be fantastic as well. I was a little bit nervous about how it would impact my routine, because
Okay.
I have quite a far commute, so I need to get a good night's sleep. So I try to get in bed and like start unwinding down about 9, half 9. And knowing my body, if I do exercise too late in the evening, it wakes me up. So I was a bit worried that it was going to kind of ruin my sleep routine. But then it's just kind of working around that.
So with your sort of exercise routine with the run club, how many runs a week are you doing with them? Is it evenings, or is it weekends mainly?
So the run club offers Tuesday and Thursdays for either long runs or intervals, and then we have like leagues as well. So at the moment, we're in a 5K league, which is once every month on a Thursday. Then I also have a Frostbite league in the winter. That's Sundays. They offer a Sunday long chatty run. So I think
So
there's
there really is something for everyone there.
yeah, there really is. And I've kind of roped a couple of people in as well, and it's really interesting because they would say the same things that I would have said when I started. Is
Yeah.
a good friend of mine, Kim, who we've managed to get her to join the running club, but she was a bit worried that maybe she wasn't as fast as everyone else. And then I said that there's people in that club which are ridiculously faster than me. But the training, for example, is when it's interval training, saying this is the route, this is the plan. Just do as many as you can at your speed. So if we're doing like interval training, you run fast at this part and then you slow down for that part. But when you're running fast, you're trying to run as fast as you can.
Mm.
It's in no way a competition. And then Justin leads our sessions, and he says that like I think it's like open, club, and beginner level. Try to aim to do 3 of these, or 5 of these, or 8 of these, and then we had an interval session the other on Thursday, and it was done by time. So you try to do as many as you can in 25, but it's in no way like trying to compete against everyone else. It is very much open for everyone, and I've played quite a few sports, been to a couple of gyms, played for different clubs, And this is by far the most supportive club that I've ever been a part of.
It's fantastic. And the way you're talking there, it's no different how you would differentiate a PE lesson that you were teaching or a literacy lesson. It's accessible for everyone. Everyone's going to reach that end goal of whatever the session is, but at your own ability and at your own level. And like I say to so many people when they talk about, oh, well, I couldn't do that because I can't run as fast as so and so, it's all relative, isn't it? It's what's relative to you. And like you just alluded to there, you're only in competition with yourself. You're only pushing yourself. And that's something I love about parkrun as well. So you started talking about your commitments and being able to fit things in around your day and how the run club sort of helped you do that. But with having such a long commute makes your evenings a little bit harder to fit into. So I think it's a brilliant time to start talking about your lunch run and how that came about. And I think people will be really interested to know how you fit that into a busy working schedule.
Yeah, so I say Thursday nights. That's the one night a week that I go running, and I say it's a non-negotiable. So whatever I plan during the week, I say Thursday night is my running club. Now, I also during the week I run Tuesday lunchtimes. I wouldn't call that a non-negotiable because when you're in a school, something can pop up, but it's as close to a non-negotiable as it can be. So unless something dramatic happens where I can't get out for that one lunchtime a week, I try to leave and go for half an hour. So whether that's 5k or 4k. Tuesdays I go out, so I finish teaching at 20 past 12. I'm prepared to go. I might have to do a quick change of clothes, like a t-shirt or something, and then I pop out for half an hour, come back. I've then got 20 minutes to cool down. But that's all about being prepared, because I think people say that they haven't got time during the day. I'm a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he has a fantastic mantra about there's 24 hours in a day, and how you use your time is very important. And I think when people say they haven't got time, I think that everyone has time in a day to find something. So because I have that long commute, I'd like to do two runs during the week. So one's Thursday night, and the other time is Tuesday lunchtime. But I know when I get home from work, I don't particularly want to go out for a run because I'm going to be shattered from the work commute. I'm probably going to have some work to catch up on as well. But what I wouldn't mind doing when I get home is sitting on my laptop and doing a little bit of work. So I've got a very good friend at work called Tom, and he's a runner as well. Um, and when I sit in his room at lunchtime, he's ploughing through his marking, absolutely ploughing through it. But he will openly tell you that that's his choice. So he will say, I'm choosing to do my marking during my lunch break, so I haven't got to do it after school. So I think it's about choices, because a lot of people, when they say they haven't got time, they might be sitting down in the staff room for the duration of their lunch, and that's totally fine. If people want to use that time to socialise, to sit down and chill, that's totally fine. But one thing which I've said about myself is I would struggle to find time to do two lunch or two after school or two evening runs a week. So
Right.
if I struggle to find time to do that, then why not find time at a different part of the day? And everyone's entitled to their lunch break, and how you use that lunch break is totally up to you. So I decide to go running once a week on a Tuesday lunch.
I think it's such an important message. And what you were saying about, the 24 hours, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because we all have that amount of time. But for different people, 24 hours, we don't have the same 24 hours, but we do have the ability to choose, to a degree what we do within that time. And it does, like you say, come down to prioritizing. And if it's important to you, you'll make it happen. And I'm sure that if you were to sit down and start mapping out your time and how much time you spent checking Instagram or just crashing out in the evening and watching television. If those are things that you need to do for your own health and well-being, that's absolutely fine. But if you really want to try and build activity into your lifestyle, but you're thinking, I just haven't got the time, that's when you need to take a step back, isn't it? And keep a bit of a diary maybe of how your day is broken up, and then you'll begin to see where those gaps are. And I think you've been really creative by looking at, right, I've got 60 minutes. How can I make sure that I can get the half an hour run in, I can eat and change and cool down before I need to restart? For me, I live about 11 or 12 miles away from my work. And for the last well, 10 years or so, I've been cycle commuting, and I've changed the distance that I've lived from work, between 5 miles and sort of 12 being the furthest. But I've always kept that bike ride in. And that kind of started because I wanted my wife to have the car with the kids so that her life was a lot easier. But it also, when I was trying to fit my own training in for my own running or cycling events, like you were saying, I found the evenings really hard, especially when my children were really young. So by commuting, for me, I was getting that training in every day because I had to do that journey. And it reminds me very much of what you're saying about this is the block of time I've got. I need to use it to the best that I can. How have other staff members kind of viewed what you're doing? Because I always, like we've already talked about I wish I had that much time. And, I couldn't do that. It's almost looking at it in a negative way rather than thinking, oh, actually, I wonder if I could do that too. So how have you kind of found staff have taken you, heading out for a run at lunchtime?
It's really funny because when I came back the other week, it was quite a warm day, so I was quite sweaty when I came back. And there's a lady, she's only been working out of school for a little while. She went, "You've been for a run?" I was like, "Yeah," and she kind of smiled at me. She went, "I don't know whether you're crazy or if I admire you. Like I don't know which." And I just said, "It's my lunchtime," and I set this up during lockdown. We've got like a health and well-being Facebook messenger group that I tried to get as many members of staff in, and we share physical activities throughout there. And I've said about it at the moment. At the moment, I haven't managed to get anyone to come out with me on a run. But that's because people have different priorities, and that's totally fine. Like I would in no way be able to say to myself, I could do this Monday to Friday. I couldn't do it, and because I understand the how much work we need to get done, and this school life is hectic enough as it is. Nevertheless, the last couple of years, but they seem to find it quite novel. But as I say, it's when you're walking around, it's people who might say to you, "Oh, I'd like to do that." Then they might be sitting down in the staff room, it's like, "Come with me," and it's sometimes just taking that step forward and that plunge. But I always feel that people have to do that when they feel they want to do that. I feel like they have to make that step themselves. They seem to think it's a really positive thing, um, but whether it's a priority for other people or not, I'm not too sure.
Well, I can tell you from my personal experience when I have tried lunchtime runs or after school runs or even with my bike commute, you never realize who you're influencing just by being an active person. And you might, over the last few years, I've found more staff members who I work with have began to ride their bikes to school. And these are people that I might never even thought of, that they were going to ride, or people that I hadn't even spoke to about riding. But just by showing people that it's possible, you'll begin to plant a seed. And I think it's the same with the pupils, and we'll go on to that in a second. I think, but you are an active role model within your school, not just for the pupils, but also for your colleagues and for your community. And I think it's so important for people to see that. And we were going to talk. Well, we can talk now about how your pupils see that. The children you teach, they might not be able to come out running with you, but do they know that you're going out running at lunchtime?
Yeah, it's really fun because it's a year 3 class that I teach just before I go, and um, one thing which I always find really interesting when you talk on social media is they say that, oh, because you're a PE teacher, it's easy to go with a PE teacher because you're already dressed to go running. And I was like, do you really think that I go running in the clothes that I teach in? But no, I don't. But on the Tuesday morning, I will wear what I go running in on the Tuesday morning, and then after lunch, I'll put my what I class as my uniform back on. Um, but I remember the first time that I turned up and I was wearing my running gear to teach that morning, and the kids like they could see that I was wearing something different because I tend to wear the same thing as my uniform, but I turned up in my running gear, and they were really like interested. So, oh, are you wearing something different today? And then I told them what I was doing, and there's a member of our running club, a good friend of mine, Bethan. I saw on Strava once that she called it a runch, like just going for a run at lunch, and I thought that was brilliant. And I coined that term at school. I said, I'm going for my runch. And I said, you've done your physical activity now. I mean, it's now time for me to have my physical activity. So you're now going to go out and play, and I'm now going to go out and run. And That was a couple of months ago. And now when they're lining up to be led back to class by their TA, they're all waving at me and saying, "Enjoy your lunch, Mr. Forward." And I think it's brilliant. I think it's class.
That is so good, and you're just setting those children up with such a brilliant role model and showing them. And this is something we talked about a few times on other episodes and online. Is that children, for a lot of them, might think that PE and school sport is an activity in general is something that you have to do as a child, and you get to an adult, and depending on who their role models are, if their role models aren't active, they're going to think, oh well, when I get older, I don't have to do this, or this is just something we do as children. And we also talk about teachers who might not engage. If you've got someone like yourself or me who are teaching the lesson for them, if the teachers or TAs aren't actively involved, you're again sending that message that, oh, it's just the PE team or it's just the male
Yeah.
member of staff, for example, who has to worry about that. So by them seeing that you are out there doing that, I think it's a great message.
Yeah, and our playground is quite. We live in like a town, and the playground has like got high fences so that they can see me running back, and then you sometimes get kids running up to the fence and like waving me as I go past, and this is at like after 4.8k, and I'm a bit hot and sweating, a bit breathless. But then they'll ask me about it. But we're also quite good on doing like health and well-being check-ins. So
Yeah.
over register, they say how you're feeling, and when I go to pick up my class after lunchtime, is usually they're finishing their register, and then the teacher says to me, "How are you feeling, Mr. Forward?" And I'll say, "Oh, I'm feeling a 9 out of 10 because I've been for my run. I feel good. I feel fresh. And I feel ready to go."
Just associating that active life with, that feeling of, I'm feeling really great. I've done my exercise. I'm feeling really happy with myself.
Yeah, I think it's modelling as well, isn't it? It's modelling that I'm finding time for myself. So I'm asking the kids to go be active outside of playtime, like whether it's in the playground area, whether they're playing games, whether they're playing football. But I want them to be active as possible and find something they enjoy. And I'm saying this is what I do to enjoy being active. And yeah, it's great. I've got a year 6 lad. And he always asks me if I'm going on a run. So if he sees me Tuesday morning we have a year 6 football club before school, and he always says to me, "You going on your lunch today, sir?" I was like, "Yep, going on my lunch today." It's nice that it's like when we have World Book Day. I find it so important that me as the PE teacher like highlights what books I'm reading, because like you said, I don't think anyone should be pigeonholed.
No.
I think it's important that everyone models different aspects of life, but I want people to see that I'm finding time for myself. And I think because I'm telling them, I say just find something you enjoy, and if I'm modeling that myself, and I'm getting my 30 minutes of physical activity during school time, because children are supposed to be active for 60 minutes a day, 30 in school, 30 outside of school. I'm saying, well, I'm getting my 30 minutes inside of school. What are you doing? I think it's good modeling.
No, it is. I can't. I don't think there's anything else that we can say to really promote how brilliant I think that is that you're able to do that, and I really hope that you are having that kind of drip feed effect on your whole wider community. Out of interest, have you done any sort of race for lives or mini marathons in school where the children are getting the opportunity to run with you and other teachers?
Yeah, we Race for Life is actually really important. We haven't spoke about this, have we? But it was a couple of years before lockdown, before COVID. Cancer was really prevalent in our school. We had a couple
Right.
of children from different families. Their parents had it. We've had members of staff with it as well, and it was a big topic in our school at that time. So I wanted to put something really positive there where you could open discussions and then kind of celebrate the strength that people going through cancer show. Um, so we looked at a Race for Life, and we did, I think it was 3 or 4 in a row pre-pandemic, and I think we raised about 8.5, 9 grand over those
Wow.
years. Um, and from our demographic, that's a lot of money, and it just kind of we did Race for Life just to kind of put that real positive message of like support and community, and that was done through physical activity and running. um, so yeah, they have had chances to run with me, and I do a run club after school on Tuesdays as well. And I usually do my after school clubs either to do build up to sports competitions or do some non-traditional sports like Quidditch and stuff like that. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a run club. Like, I'm going to do a run club because I'm really enjoying my running, and I kind of want to have a focus of running in a club. And I did it for year 5 and 6, and I think I had 40 slips back.
Wow.
And I can't claim ownership to this term, but I saw on Twitter somebody had rephrased their couch to 5K to console to 2K.
I saw that on your notes. I thought that was a brilliant name for it.
Mm. Um, I think it was again my friend Stuart McKenzie. I think he does it in his school, but I thought that was brilliant, and because I'm always trying to battle against games consoles and what they can do. And I think I had 40 kids do it, and I only had spaces for 20. But I was amazed, and I was chatting to one of their teachers saying the fact that I've got these kids coming back to a running club. I was really really impressed by that because it's something which I thought might be a bit of a challenge to some kids in terms of it's running, isn't it? The
Yeah,
discourse,
trying to keep them engaged. It's not an invasion game. There's no winner. There's no loser potentially.
yeah, so I've done it through lots of different ways. We've done lots of different types of running. We've going in the playground. We've done it in the gym. We've done some sustained running, some races, some like running type games. It's been brilliant. But I was worried about that discourse of running and what the kids actually thought running was. But they've come and it's been great. So I'll run with them for parts of that club as well.
That's fantastic. So I think, thinking back to when we were at school and definitely beyond that point, running was seen for a lot of people as a punishment. And I think that it's left a lot of adults finding it really hard to get into running because they just had this memory seeds in their brain or fusing their brain of running is a punishment. And it's so important that that is changed. And that's not how children are seeing running. And it is a fun and it's enjoyable thing that's part of sport and it's by no means a negative thing. So I think what you're doing there sounds brilliant, and I love the ideas of kind of working as a group. That communicative goal of can we reach a half marathon together? The circular runs where you've got no start line, no finish line. You don't really know who's at the front, who's at the back. There's no I'm in last place, and that's something that we found with our race for life. So we kind of open up the school and have a little bit of a route where they get to run around all the playgrounds that they wouldn't normally get to, and you just got so many children running, teachers running, music on, and it's like their favorite time of the whole year. And you think, oh my god, they're literally just running. But like you say, it's just so important to change what that mindset is around running and movement.
Yeah, one of my good friends from the running club, Lauren. I was listening to one of her interviews on the radio, and she said that running is like the most primal thing that our body needs. Like we're hunter gatherers, and I remember thinking that's so true. And whenever we do these like race for lives or running clubs, even if I have to walk for a little while or jog or skip, it's moving. Like this is what our body needs. Our body doesn't need football, doesn't need basketball. It needs to move, and running is the most primal form of that. And as long as they're moving, putting some music on, as long as they're inspired to actually keep moving forward, I think it's fantastic. And it just it just plants that seed for future that like you said, you're so right because it was seen as a punishment and probably like maybe some of our parents saw it as a
Mm.
punishment. We're not too far removed away from that militant style, so it's just trying to challenge that discourse and then what will our students say about running to their kids or to their grandkids? Will it be seen as a form of punishment, or will it be seen, oh yeah, we used to do the race for life and we had music on, and that's the positiveness that I kind of or positivity that I kind of want to instill and challenge that discourse of running is boring or running is punishment.
Yeah, that is it's so true, and I hope. Well, you think of things like tough mudder runs and your obstacle course racing and the color runs. There's so many different varieties of running, isn't there? And it doesn't have to solely just be get on the track and run and run. And for some of us, we love that, and for other people, you need a little bit of external motivation and enjoyment and that social side of it. And I think for children to have the ability to gain perseverance through running and thinking, it's okay if I walk for a bit, but I'm going to start running again. It's so important. Well, look, we've talked about that for loads, for a lot. We've got so much from it, and I wanted to talk about one more thing before we finish and wrap this up, and that is just parkrun, because so much of the Teachers Run Club community, or so many of them, I should say, go to their parkruns on Saturday mornings, and it becomes, like you were saying earlier, a real way of life. And what do you think parkrun has done for you? You said earlier that it built that routine for you, but what are your kind of goals around parkrun? What do you see parkrun doing for you as you move forward?
I think Parkrun is just an incredible initiative when you think it's now global and it just started off by, I think it was 12 people, was it? Something, I'm not far off that. Just 12 people just
Yeah,
turning up in the
yeah.
park. And it's absolutely incredible. And one thing I love is everyone's got a walk of life. Like you've got different ages, you've got different abilities. We're having a really, really big push in our local park run at the minute for walking. I think there was a statistic that says that the average finishing time is actually getting slower, which means that more people of different abilities are coming and also walking. It is a free initiative. It has consistency, it has positivity, it has community. And everyone who comes, whether I did Norwich Park Run the weekends, that was 408 people. Our local park run usually has around about 100, maybe a bit less. Some park runs have 20 or 30, but whoever's there, you've got something in common with those people. And when you start chatting to these people and listening to them, it's there's so much positivity there. Like when I was barcode scanning once, there was a lady who came over, quite an elderly lady, and she got really emotional. And she said that was her first run that she had done since she had double hip surgery, and she couldn't
Wow.
walk. She couldn't walk for 3 months. And when she shared that with us, like I got a bit of a lump in my throat. I thought,
Yeah.
oh my, it's actually incredible. There's a guy at our local park run who runs with an army backpack, and I'm making the numbers up, but he's basically doing X amount of pounds on his back for X amount of park runs. I think it's 50 for 50.
Wow.
Um,
God.
but he's doing it for charity. So, like I said, joining the club, I've got all those friends now who basically at the running club, I met them at park run. And then myself, Justin, Lauren, John, a couple of others, we will do some park run tourism. So we'll go to different parts of the country. Um, the thing I love about parkrun as well is whether you are intrinsically or extrinsically motivated, there's something there. So everyone signs up, you get your email and your text message to see how fast you did it in, and then you got your statistics like your age grading. So you can really, really focus on those rewards, like the extrinsic rewards, somebody giving you a time, somebody giving you some statistics, or you can just turn up and just complete it. Um, there's the 5K app. Are you familiar with the 5K app?
Not sure if I am actually.
Oh, I'll send you a link. It's I kind of wish I'd never heard about it because there's loads of like gamified challenges on there. So
Right.
you can run park runs for one beginning with every letter of your name. You can go to 20 different tourist sites. You can get positions from 1 to 100. There's loads of challenges on there. So
And is
if
this
you're
specifically a parkrun app? Is it?
No, it's called 5K app. So
Right.
5K app. I don't know, but it's done by your park run. So whenever you get your results, it all feeds into you put your park run number into this app, and it keeps all this data for you. Um, so there's all these challenges on there, and like Andrew, one of the run directors, he was telling me about the floating index. So every park run has a number, like a number event. So you can try collecting all the numbered events, and it's it's like I said, there's a small part of me that wish I'd never heard about it.
It sounds dangerous. It sounds really. It's the kind of thing that's right up my street. Anything that you can keep track of, and yeah, anything to do with statistics is right up my street. But I can see that's just another. It's another version of Strava, which I'm going to have my head in after
Yeah,
after finishing a run.
it's
But
incredible. It's gamified. So if people like my friend Adrian, he's a teacher as well, but he's a maths teacher, and I always butcher this, but is it Fibonacci? Look, there's a maths sequence.
right,
Um, I wouldn't even begin to explain you what the sequence is, but he went to Downham Market at the weekend because that was number 13, and that was one of the numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. I'm sure I'm butchering that name. But again, it gives you a purpose. So now he has travelled from Galston to Downham Market because he specifically wants to visit that site to get that number park run.
that's
Um,
incredible.
so it's just whether you're like extrinsically driven or you're there just to complete it for the community. Everyone is there for the same reason, and there's so many stories there. It's just so much positivity, and I can't think. Bearing in mind, like I'm a PE teacher, I can't think of another initiative that has so much potential for good, and it's free, and you haven't even got to sign up for it. You could go. You won't get your name next to your time, but it's just anyone can go.
Yeah, it is. It's so easy. And what about junior parkrun? Do you know of a lot? Have you got a junior parkrun near your school? Do you know if a lot of children, attend junior parkrun?
See, you in the show notes, you said like, how did I become a run director? So chatting to Andrew, who's one of the run directors at SOAM, this is when I did my calf. I started talking to him and saying like, I'm looking to relocate locally, and when I relocate, maybe looking at getting a junior park run set up in SOAM. So that's how I kind of become a run director, by chatting to him, and he's saying, well, if you want to look at getting a junior park run started, let's get you trained up to being a run director. Um, so junior parkrun is something which I really, really want to push. We have one in Ely, and I've volunteered there 3 times in the last month or so, and I think it's a big one. I don't know how big they can get, but there was 100 kids, and
Right, that does sound like a big one. It's definitely bigger than my local one.
well, the way they were talking to me, it sounded like it was a big one compared to other junior park runs. But just seeing the kids turn up, and then again, some of them are running, some of them are rapid, like some are doing like
Yeah.
4 minute kilometers. Then you had kids walking it, and then you had kids running it by themselves, kids with their parents, and it's just fantastic. And back at home in Lowestoft, where my parents live, we have one in Galston, which is it's about 20 minutes away, and knowing our demographic, that might be quite far for some of our parents. But
Right.
one of the models of teaching I use called health-based PE, and that basically teaches you where to access physical activity outside of school. Um, so one thing which I will be doing going forward when I'm doing my health-based PE units is looking at a bit of running, and then kind of telling them where the closest one is. When I start my new job, there is one in Milton, which is pretty close to where I'll be teaching. So just try and have those links. So if you enjoy doing this, you can do this outside. My friend
That's
Adrian,
definitely. Oh, so I was gonna say it's definitely always been one of my bugbears with being PE was you go to this competition or that competition and the children get a brilliant experience of golf or of gymnastics or whatever it was, but then what next? Yes, they might have loved it, but then how do they know where to access it? Or are there any club coaches there who are handing out that information? And one thing we did was we actually worked with Junior Parkrun and set up a mock course on the park next to our school, so every child and parent got to have a go at it.
that's
Um,
amazing.
it was brilliant, and I don't know, I don't think that 200 children went and joined that junior park run, but 800 children definitely knew, and their parents knew that it was there. They knew it was walking distance. So you've kind of done your bit. You've made people more aware of something they probably were never aware of before.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. Like you say, you need to make sure that if you're inspiring children to enjoy that activity, there needs to be the next thing. And the health-based PE unit is specifically all about that. So you might do yoga, for example, and if you're doing yoga, you say, well, you can access this, and this online. You can do this at home. Um, so that's something where you could do 1 or 2 lessons on running and say, well, if you enjoyed that, then you don't need a junior park run. However, there is one this far away. Um, and it's just so much positivity to it, and do you know what I mean? It's such a good initiative.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, I want to try and round this up now because I feel like you and I could talk for a long, long time about specifically about primary PE, and maybe we'll have another a call at some point. But what's next for you? You've said you've got your new journey starting soon with your new role, and what about within activity and fitness? Have you got any challenges or aims or events that you're going to be working towards?
Yeah, so my personal thing is that I'd like to try to get under a 20-minute, 30-second 5K. My coaches seem to think that maybe a sub 20. Like, I personally, not a mental block. I don't think it's a mental block, but I just think that's so fast. That's so fast. And like when I started running, I was like flirting around the 22 and a half minutes. So for someone to turn around and say that I could go under 20, I got a PB this weekend and I got 20:46. So I'm
It's
close.
definitely in you. Definitely, you got it in you.
If I can, like I said, I've only been classing myself as running since January per se, like from training. So I'll be aiming for that. I'd like to try to get to 100 park runs, as in running and volunteering. I think I've done 56 park runs and volunteered 41 times now. Um, so I'd like to try and do that because it's a smart goal. Like whether I go there and I put in a sub 21 or I tail walk and I do it in an hour, I know I can do a park run on a Saturday. Um, I'm doing Run Norwich, which is a 10k. I'm doing that in July. I'm very much a 5k runner.
Right.
I haven't got the discipline to do much further than that. But if I can get under 46 minutes for that 10k, Run Norwich is notoriously challenging. It's quite like hilly.
It's funny when you say hilly and Norwich, you just don't expect. My dad lives just outside of Norwich, and whenever I go running there, it's just flat as anything. So it surprised me when you said hilly.
Yeah, but I say hilly. I'm from Lowestoft, which is really flat. So any sort of incline I class as a hill.
Yeah.
I think it's basically like right in the middle of the city centre. So there's
Right.
quite a few inclines. Again, like I'm probably talking 20-meter elevation, but it's not flat. It's not completely flat. But if I can do that under 46 minutes, I'll be buzzing about that. So yeah, just trying to get under 20-30, hit 100 park runs, and run Norwich.
Oh,
That'll be it.
fantastic! Well, good luck with that, and I look forward to kind of seeing your journey, both educationally and within your active life. And you're quite busy on social media. You're on Twitter. Is mainly Twitter the where you mainly use?
Yeah, I try to wean myself off social media, so I specifically use Twitter for PE purposes.
Okay, so if anyone wants to follow your journey on there, it's Ryan Forwood, PE, RYAN FORWOODPE. That is correct, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
That is correct. Well, look, right, we're going to leave it there because we've been going for a while and I want to make sure people get everything they can out of this. So thank you so much again for your time during this recording. And I hope to speak to you again in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Dan. Can I just say thank you to you, because the Teachers Run Club is an amazing community and loads of people engage with it. So thank you for setting that up.
No, thank you. Not a problem. It's definitely something that I'm hoping is just going to grow and grow, and it's definitely grown beyond what I thought it would when I sort of just began with the concept of it last year. So I really do appreciate that. And for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. And this is episode 3 of what will be about a 6 or 7 episode series. So please keep tuned in, and we hope to have you back again at some point soon. Thank you very much.